Today on Xeno laser fractals and can I make more? So, in the previous video, I did some work on this B&W Tech laser, and the work that I did was to replace the lithium triborate crystal, which is the second harmonic generation optic. That takes the 946 nanometer laser light and converts it over to the 473 nanometer laser light, which is a very nice blue. The other thing I did was to connect this driver up to the laser so that way I could operate it. Now the crystal that I put inside of the laser head is not much better than the crystal that was in here. The crystal that was originally in here is just too damaged. It wouldn't work. So I was thinking there's got to be a way to make this brighter. And I had an idea. So the idea kind of goes like this. On this little model demonstration thing that I made, which shows the workings of a normal green GPSS laser, you'll see here on the back of the monolithic crystalline assembly that there is a coating that is green. There you go. And what that does is it reflects all of the 532 nanometer light that is going in the reverse direction. It kind of redirects it forwards and out of the front. Now, inside of one of these B&W Tech lasers, there's a lot of light that goes back towards the pump diode. So I thought, what if we could utilize that light and we could send that light forward and out of the laser as well? So I tried that. And let's duplicate that experiment. I'm going to turn on the laser. It takes a little bit to warm up. And here I have a couple of pieces of dichroic glass. Now the majority of them will reflect green and blue. I'm going to be doing experiments with both the 473 and the 532 nanometer lasers. And I got another one here for further experiments. And I'll explain that to you later on when I get to that point. Warning, warning, danger, danger. Operating your GPSS laser with the cover open may result in eye injury or laser damage. Alright, we got a pale blue dot here on the paper. Carl Sagan would be proud. We're going to take this piece of dichroic glass and I'm going to put it behind the ND-YB04. So that's the crystal that fluoresces and has the 4-level process inside. It takes the 808 nanometer laser light and converts it over to the 946 nanometers. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put this behind there, and it's going to rest in front of the pump focusing lens. So we can see what happens when we try to redirect that light forward. You'll see in the back of the laser there is quite a lot of blue light coming out, and that's what we're going to reflect towards the front and see what happens. So the glass is in. I'm going to focus more on the paper here so we can see the output. And what happened is I got these crazy laser fractals. And I've never seen this before in another laser. So I want to try to figure out why that's happening and if I can reproduce it. I don't know how well that's showing up on camera, but I will try to get a much better piece of video for you to see, because it's absolutely stunning. Pretty complex geometry in some of those. It looks kind of like snowflakes. Yeah, that's just fascinating. Now, there is a downside to my idea, and my idea won't quite work. Due to destructive interference, when I do have all of the dots lined up, the laser actually goes dimmer. And not much dimmer, but you'll see it kind of dim out a little bit. When they're perfectly lined up. So, even though I'm losing a lot of light from the resonator going back towards the pump diode, overall I still have brighter output with all of that 473 nanometer laser light lost. So there's a couple of experiments that I said I wanted to do. Let's get into doing those experiments. Here I have another one of those 473 nanometer lasers, and I want to test out an idea of why we are getting those fractals. Well, as I said before, on the inside we have a laser crystal as lithium triborate, and sometimes the optical coatings can be damaged. Here's what that looks like. This is the lithium triborate I pulled out of the other laser. It has very damaged coatings. Let's see if we can get a close-up of that. Yeah, there we go. So you can see the damage on that end. And on the other side, even more damage. So to simulate this and to test out this idea, I have this piece of dichroic glass, which I just used little electrical arcs to take off and damage some of the coating. And I'm going to be putting this in the laser and seeing if that is the reason why we're getting those patterns. Now, this laser is in really good condition, so the optical coatings on the resonator aren't bad at all. Because of that, what I want to do is, firstly, I want to see if I get any kind of patterning doing just the same thing as I did before. So, take this laser cover off. Quite good covers. There we go. And on with the laser. Off with the light. There we go. Laser output. So first I'm going to test that same dichroic piece of glass and put it right before the resonator. Yeah, absolutely no patterns whatsoever that I'm seeing. So it does seem to be that the damage on the coatings is causing some kind of patterns and constructive and destructive interference. Let's go ahead and test out that optic that I deliberately damaged. I don't know if this passes infrared. It should pass infrared. We're going to find out. Oh, it does not like to work with that, does it? Interesting. Alright, well, we're learning. Cover back on. Oh, that is a nice bright output compared to the other one. Lovely. That is a lovely laser. Let's try something else. We got the beam here. Put that up. I want to see up a little higher. Let's see what happens if we put that glass right in the front of the laser. See what happens. So you get fuzz, but I don't see any really pronounced fractally patterns. I mean, there are some, but definitely not the same. Interesting. Right, with that running, what I want to try to do is fold the light over itself. So I have this little piece of first surface mirror pulled from a laser printer, and let's see if we can do that. So the first thing is I'm going to send that beam back towards my way. If you're using optics to reflect a laser beam back towards you, be careful. The glass is sharp and can cut your fingers. So now that's coming back my way, and I'm going to use this dichroic piece of glass to send it towards the mirror again. So that way we have light that comes out this way, bounces off, hits this, comes back. So we'll have two beams traveling here, and maybe we can get that same kind of interference. Line that up as best as I can. Alright, that should be close enough. Now I'm going to put that piece of damaged dichroic glass in the laser beam and see what I get. No, not very much at all, it looks like. Let's try just taking this and shining it back towards the laser. There we go. And now we see if we get fractals. Here, fractal, fractal, fractals. That's a lot closer to what I was seeing, but still not exact. Interesting. Let's try to move this around. Getting some interesting patterns, but still not quite the same. Let me see if I get better video footage of that. For the sake of curiosity, what I'm going to do is take the bad laser resonator crystal and put it in the beam and see if that gives us some interesting patterns. Let's see. Wow. That's terrible. No wonder why it wouldn't lace. That's garbage. Absolute garbage. Well, on that note, let's try a few experiments with a 532 nanometer laser. Here we have a 532 nanometer laser. Its construction is very similar to the 473 nanometer lasers. It doesn't have a monolithic crystalline assembly, but instead has a full resonator inside, which most higher powered GPSS lasers do. Basically, it's the same construction. Here we have the pump diode in the back, a pump focusing lens, the ND crystal. It's either going to be ND by VO4 or ND YAG, and our second harmonic generation crystal, either KTP or the LBO. So pretty similar in construction. We should see some laser light traveling in the back. See if we do. Turn off the light. Let me tell you about the first day I had this laser and set my couch on fire with it. Yes, I have a fire extinguisher on hand. Yeah, wow. There's no green light going to the back, which means that there's no green light to mess with inside of the laser. Well, that's interesting. I'm sure we'll find a way. I'm a smart person. Figure out something. Let's see what happens if we do stick in that piece of dichroic glass. I doubt very much is going to happen, simply because they don't have any light to reflect back, but we'll never know until we try. Yeah, that's about what I would expect. Does it change anything in the resonator? Pretty certain it would. Find out. Oh yeah. Completely stops it from lasing just about. Okay, well. That got us nowhere. And this in here, see what happens. Nope, no patterns at all. Nothing. Well, time to put the cover back on that laser. It's a 5-watt pump diode inside of there, and that's not very friendly for the eyeballs. Turn that off. So there are two more ideas that I have that I want to test out real quick. When you have laser light like this, you can use things to generate interference patterns. About the simplest explanation for this, or simplest experiment, is to take a piece of hair, yes, a real piece of authentic wizard hair, turn that on, and we'll see a line form when the wizard hair is in the beam. There it is. Not very easy to see. It's a very small line. So my thinking was, okay, let's try to do something similar to that. See if we can get some fractal shapes. So what I did is I took a microscope slip cover. There we go. And I put some very fine wire on it. So if I put this into the laser beam, we should see a bunch of lines come out of the beam. Let's see if that happens. And yes, we do. So my thinking is, let's see what happens if we fold the laser beam on itself and we put that in the actual beam. Maybe we'll get something interesting, but I don't know. I doubt it. Close enough. get some interesting patterns, but still see no fractals. Let's get a better video on that. Yeah, that's not working as well as I would like. I really only have one more idea to try. So I have a microscope slide, and if you see the surface, I put a bunch of scratches on there, and I'm going to try to do the same thing as I did with the microscope slip cover and that fine wire. See what we get out of this. But to be honest, I think we're going to be disappointed. Yeah, it seems like all I get is just laser light junk. There's no real defined geometric shapes to any of it. Well, that's disappointing. Very disappointing. Well, we've learned a few things today in this video at least. The first one is that laser fractals are very hard to make. Scientists have made laser fractals before. There is a link in the description that goes through that interesting research paper. The other thing we've discovered is that, like always, lasers are very difficult to properly record on camera. Well, that's about it. If I learn anything else that goes in line with making crazy laser fractals, I'll definitely post up a follow-up video. But yeah, that's about all I have for this video. Yeah, that's a bright laser. Yeah. Laser. Well, that's it for now. As always, stay tuned for more.